Julius, you've already spoken about the Baby A case, a heartbreaking yet historic moment that forced society and policymakers to pay attention. Tell us about that case and what it meant for Uganda and the movement as a whole. Baby A case.
Yeah. The baby A case was a Kenyan case. It wasn't a Ugandan case. It was a baby who was in Kenya, just months old, who, there were issues around issuing a certificate and
like a birth certificate.
Citizenship issues, really. And that is how it ended up in court in Kenya. It was a really, really huge case. And why I say that is because it was one of those cases that provided an opportunity for scientists, because our leaders love to engage with scientists. They love science-based kind of conclusions or presentations. And the Baby A case and the violations that were around it provided an opportunity for a laboratory in Kenya to analyze the issue around the baby and to produce a report that shows evidence of indeterminate sex at birth. This was not something that the child chose. So I think it was pivotal in establishing that intersex is an innate variation that is present at birth, evidenced by science, and a court based on that report
in
determine, a Kenyan court based on that report to determine that Baby A was intersex and gave what do they call that, a decree or a decree that they be registered, as a citizen. And what that did was that, normally in Africa, and I don't think that this is a secret, normally in Africa, we use evidence that is produced by the West. We quote cases that come from, countries in the West that have done this before us, but we never really had a case that was pronounced or determined upon by an African court.
Right.
And for us here in Uganda, that was an East African court, a court based in Kenya. And that gave us, emboldened us, actually, at that point, to also start engaging with our Uganda Human Rights Commission. At that time, it was under Commissioner Kaggwa. And there was also lawyers in Kenya who he's a Chief Justice right now. Back then, he was counsel, John Chigiti. And we began to it opened a whole new legal space for us to engage with, to the extent that our very first kind of stakeholder meeting had people coming from Kenya, including counsel, lawyers from there, lawyers from Rwanda and Burundi, from Human Rights Initiative Rwanda, GMAT in Kenya. And these lawyers, it kind of opened the regional conversation around intersex and the Uganda Human Rights Commission. So it was really, really pivotal. But also more so in Kenya, that started a series of litigation events, as you know, that eventually led a couple of years ago to Kenya actually passing a law to protect intersex children.
Wow. And this is where it comes from. Julius, which years were these when this happened? The scientific investigation, court processes.
This was in the late 2000s, 2008, 2009. At least that is when I kind of made contact with Chigiti on kind of expert witness things like that. Just to it was around 2009.
So this case, the details of it are you can commonly just search Baby A case on the internet.
Yes.
Just for those who want to to go deeper, because this is a big resource also for
Absolutely,
all of
absolutely.
us.
And people who are watching us or listening to us, they will find there was also another Richard Mukasa case. People can look it up, who was imprisoned in Kenya. That compounded the Baby A case. This was an intersex person who was imprisoned, and then once in prison, they could not. They took him to the women's cell, and the women were saying, "No, this is not a woman." They took him to the men's cell, and the men were saying, "No, this is not a man." But that also eventually came back to court and continued to shed light on the journey of intersex people and the kind of the continuum of variations or conditions that people kind of live with. Yeah.
So your connections with this, case and people who were involved in it, did that fuel, work at CIPID or the formalization of the formation of CIPID, and what other effects did it have? Because now we are seeing other people coming in from Tanzania, from Rwanda. Did this case in particular, the Baby A case, have any impact within the sub-region or region as a whole of Africa?
Yes, it did. It did, especially here in East Africa. As I mentioned, I think it's one of the things.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's one of those cases that made Commissioner Kaggwa really sit down to listen to us.
Because you say that the scientific investigation was done by Africans.
Absolutely. And it was a Kenyan court. So this was a Kenyan child. It was an African child. And the issue was being kind of engaged with by Kenyan scientists, laboratories, and tests.
African laboratories, yes.
And a Kenyan court.
Yeah.
It was relatable. There was no pressure, the pressure that normally comes where people feel the West is kind of trying to push down an agenda. That was completely absent, and it really made the commissioner sit and engage and try and start to ask. And what actually happened is that he was so interested in the two babies who were in Tororo, and that really, in a way, gave us leverage. And I must also say that it made our registration a lot easier in the year that followed, because, for those of you who know Uganda, that case provided a kind of a platform, a threshold for us to engage from and start to have a conversation that is relatable.
And it still has the potential right now, today.
Absolutely. Yeah. History is like that. It's still very, 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 very viable even up to now.
Wow, Julius, because for me, I'm going now. It's going to be my first deep engagement with this case, and I see it as a big resource even for my own activism in everything else. So thank you so much for highlighting that.